Blessed is she who believed.
Yeah.
I think that's like a phrase I've just somehow skimmed past.
I have too. And I was just reading it last night, and I was like, yeah. I feel like Macy's has an ad where they say believe. I feel,
Yeah. And Ted Lasso has believe.
also, yes. And I say, imagine that we believed. Maybe I should just call it believe. Oh, I love that Ted Lasso. That is such a great, oh my gosh. That's such a great
And I just love, blessed is she who believed, because blessed is, we hear that phrase of Jesus giving these beatitudes, version in Luke even, but this is a beatitude.
It is.
I mean,
where did I didn't think about it that way. I might change the title to Blessed is she who believed. Because I also want to talk about female cooperation. Elizabeth and Mary, just that whole dance and support that happens, and I think her name is Adrienne Rich, the poet. She talks about how female relationship is considered one of the most dangerous things in the world, and that there's a lot of energy to make sure it doesn't happen. I put that quote in the SOW. Oh my gosh, people come in from all different places around here. Hi, that you don't realize. I also put in that Harriet Tubman quote about. Let's see, here's a quote. The connections between and among women are the most feared, the most problematic, and the most potentially transforming force on the planet. That was Adrienne Rich. And then Sojourner Truth. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man had nothing to do with him.
Ooh,
have you heard that quote?
No.
She says it in her Ain't I a Woman speech.
What?
So those are my 2 quotes for that Sunday.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
We're recording.
Awesome.
Okay, so this is the 4th Sunday of Advent, the final Sunday before Christmas, and the narrative lectionary gets us into Luke. We took a little detour to Luke for our Christmas pageant. You saw that video a couple weeks ago. Now we have the angel showing up to Mary, and blessed is she who believes.
Oh my God, what a gorgeous line. And, Jim and I were just saying, we didn't ever really pay attention to this. This is verse 45, I think. Of course, you're reading the Magnificat. Of course, we're all steeped in what Gabriel is saying and Mary's questions, her pondering, her perplexity, her permission giving. Let it be to me according to God's will. And the way that has sort of gotten shaped and morphed and tied with femininity. Oh, just let it, just do whatever, the sacrificial woman, the sacrificial mom, the sacrificial leader. But not a real focus on Mary's agency, her questioning, this idea that God is giving her agency over her own body, right? There's time taken for Mary to go, I'm going to ask a few questions. Okay, all right, this is interesting. How is this possible? Okay, let's do it, right? There's something really beautiful in that Mary has control over her body. I hope people are listening and then hearing what is underneath that. God does not force Mary to have the baby.
Someone pass this video on to your representatives, especially if you live in Florida or Ohio or Michigan
or if you're J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
There's not a forcing to have a baby. There's a you have been chosen, and there's questioning, there's back and forth, and then there is permission giving, and that permission giving comes from Mary. And so it really does upend our notion of who Mother Mary, meek and mild. I think that was a poem that I learned, or maybe my daughter learned at the Catholic school she attended. Mother Mary, meek and mild. Not so much. Mary is actually quite a force. And I think that verse 45, blessed is she who believed. And again, this is a young woman. We think somewhere between 12, 13, 14 years old, about to have a baby, and in a dialogue with a messenger from God about what's going to happen to her, her body, and her life. It's really quite extraordinary when you stop to think about it. And then what God is able to do out of a belief that God can do something.
I just want to notice that for thousands of years of church history, when pulpits have been filled with one particular gender expression, no wonder we miss these facets of the text. Not that men can't be feminists and aware to the nuance, but you bring an embodiment that just picks up on this, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, this is your sermon to preach, and any woman who can preach. This is
Right, right. Well, I think it's the beauty of the Jewish midrash, because the belief was that the community helped in the understanding of the text. And I imagine maybe women were in that room. I don't know. I think they were probably a lot more egalitarian than we are now. They certainly weren't studying the Torah the way the men were. But it helps, I think, our relationship with ourselves, one another, and God to have these different perspectives.
Oh yeah.
Looking at the text.
It just invites everyone to bring their perspective to
Right.
the text when suddenly you hear from different perspectives and bodies and persons and peoples, and it lets us even see a story that we just might think, oh yeah, story of Mary, it's part of the Christmas, I know that, it's right. I'm gonna do Psalm 23 and the Lord's Prayer. Those are the things I have memorized. Like, no, slow down. There's some stuff going on here that, like, even you and I just said, in our how many years of Christmases and Advents, wait, blessed is she who believes.
Blessed is she who believed. And you said that's a beatitude.
It's got to be a beatitude.
Never thought about it that way. But there is some wisdom, I think, that we can gain from Mother Mary. I think, like a lot of us gain from our mothers and our grandmothers, not to discount grandpas and dads and uncles, but I think we get a lot of that in the text. There's a lot of male wisdom, and there's certainly the wisdom that comes to us through God the Father and Jesus the Son. But it's not very often in the text that we get to pause and think about women wisdom. And to watch this beautiful dialogue and interaction between Elizabeth and Mary. I'm also really fascinated with their support of one another, their clear love for one another, their cooperation, and their affirmation of one another. There's a real power, I think, when women have that sort of relationship. And I can't remember who it was that said that there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. Because it's just heartbreaking when someone who looks like you and has had similar experiences to you because of gender, like step on your neck.
Yeah.
And I have certainly had that experience in the church and in life. And so to have this beautiful model of two women who affirm and clearly love and support each other is a real gift to the church, and I think it's a real gift to women.
Because the Mary and Elizabeth story could have gone different.
Yes.
They could have had this, like, pettiness, bickering, whose moment is it?
Mm-hmm.
But there, as it should be, there is a moment of just mutual empathy and support and care.
And the bickering part, that certainly gets lifted up in the text, right? It gets lifted up in our cultural context. But these sorts of relationships typically don't. And I think so. And I think the question that I decided to ask was, how does this model of Mary shape the way that we see women in leadership? Because there's certainly a lot of people who will let you know that you shouldn't be a pastor or you shouldn't be a minister because you're a woman. But you see models for women leadership. You see models for women taking charge and having agency in the Bible that have not shaped the way that we understand women, or the way that we understand mothers, or the way that we understand women who choose not to be mothers. We have picked and chosen the things that uphold the narrative that we want to uphold.
So we need texts like this to remind us why we need all who are called by God to be in the places they're called.
Right.
Men, women, people of any gender. And I think that call goes beyond the pulpits. Let's get those women in all the places they are called for, whether that's a governor's desk, an office that might be oval, whatever shape and size it is.
Right. I think, and in all the ways that they are called, because I'm certainly not vilifying any of the choices that women make, whether it's to be a mother or not be a mother, whether to work in the home or outside of the home or both. I think we want to have as much expansive creativity for the ways that women can live out God's call on their life as we have for men, as we have for children, that there's flexibility and creativity and support, that we are not, because of our gender, pigeonholed into one or two places. Because there, of course, are women who choose not to have children, who cannot have children, who make other choices with their lives. And I think that there's something in this text that invites us into a larger imagination of what that looks like.
Yeah, it's easy to miss Mary's agency, but when you see it and identify it, that's when we can see the essential nature of empowering a person's agency, especially a woman's agency, which is often snuffed out in whatever way it needs to be manifest.
Absolutely. And amen.
Okay, well, come hear this sermon. This Sunday, the Sunday before Christmas, we are getting close. I'm sure if you have kids in your house, they are counting on the days. I know mine are. We go by a Christmas countdown on the way to preschool every day.
Oh.
So it's either a blessing or a curse. It reminds me how much time I have. And yeah.
Yeah, we've got our Advent calendar
Yep,
too.
we have that too.
Counting it down
Yep.
as well.
Ours is a felt one where you put the pieces up.
Me too.
Yeah. My mom made mine back before I was born.
my
It's
God.
amazing. It's amazing. The nativity always looks very wonky. I'll put a picture of what it's looking like right now.
Okay.
So all of that to say, Christmas is almost here. Join us on Sunday. It's going to be beautiful, wonderful. As always, join us in the room, online, trcnyc.org to find out all the information about all the ways you can join us. Music starts at 10:30, worship starts at 11, and then Christmas Eve is just a couple days later.
Yes.
And we've got a 4 o'clock.
Yep.
We got a 7 o'clock.
That's right.
The 4 o'clock is really designed with a family experience in mind.
Right, and I would say families with children.
Yeah.
Because we know there's so many ways to define family.
Yes.
So this is the clergy and a lot of our lay leaders telling an embodied Christmas nativity, and it's a lot of fun. It's a jazz music, all of the Charlie Brown Christmas music. So it's a really delightful way to spend Christmas Eve. You don't have to have children to come. Just want you to know what it looks like.
Do you have a part?
I do. I'm playing one of the Magi.
Perfect.
And we're, of course, mixing the Matthew and the Luke text together.
Oh,
So
okay.
the
I let it go.
mishmash. There's sheep and magi and everything,
Yep.
which we all
Yep.
know, you know, from talking to us, that that's
Yep.
theologically inaccurate.
Okay, we're going to give ourselves a pass, along with every church
That's
in
right.
the world.
That's right.
And then at 7 o'clock, it's a more traditional lessons and carols where there's, and again, all ages are welcome at both of these. We're not going to say check your kids at the door or only come if you have them. Everyone is welcome to
Absolutely.
every gathering, but there's a flavor that they bring. And the 7 o'clock has hymns, lessons, all the scriptures we love to hear this time of year on Christmas Eve.
We hope you'll join us. And if you don't, we wish you every blessing for Christmas and the days to come.
All right. We'll see you in those days to come.